The farmyard was a symphony of sounds. Cows mooed, pigs grunted, but for me, Pip, the young turkey, these sounds were a constant reminder of my captivity. I dreamed of open skies, of a life beyond the fences. I yearned for the freedom to roam, to feel the wind beneath my wings. I spent my days watching the clouds drift by, imagining myself soaring above the farm. I would practice flapping my wings, feeling their growing strength. I knew in my heart that I wasn't meant to be confined. I was meant to be free. One day the farmer left the gate ajar. I saw my chance. With a burst of adrenaline, I darted through the opening. I was free. The farmyard erupted in chaos. Hens clucked in alarm. A rooster crowed urgently. The news of Pip's escape spread like wildfire. Word reached Bessie, the old milk cow who always looked out for us younger animals. Bessie lumbered over to the fence, her bell clanging with each step. She spotted Pip disappearing into the tall grass beyond the farm. "He'll never survive out there," she muttered, her voice full of worry. The other animals gathered around, their faces a mixture of concern and envy. They knew the dangers that awaited Pip in the outside world, but they also admired his bravery. He dared to do what we could only dream of. The farmer, a burly man with a temper as fiery as his red beard, was furious. He stormed through the farmyard, his voice booming. "That blasted turkey! He'll be back, begging for scraps!" But deep down, the farmer knew Pip wouldn't return willingly. He paced back and forth, formulating a plan. Finally, he stopped and announced, "A reward! 10 silver dollars to whoever brings me that turkey, dead or alive." The news of the bounty spread quickly. Greedy eyes gleamed in the village. Even the local sheriff decided to join the hunt. For Pip, the taste of freedom quickly turned bitter. He was no longer just a runaway, he was a fugitive. The search began at dawn. The dogs barked excitedly, their noses to the ground, sniffing out Pip's trail. Men on horseback galloped through the fields, their eyes scanning the horizon. The air crackled with tension. Pip, meanwhile, was learning the hard way about survival. The world outside the farm was vast and unforgiving. He had to dodge hungry foxes, outsmart cunning weasels, and avoid the watchful eyes of hawks circling overhead. The sound of approaching jeeps sent chills down his spine. He could hear the shouts of the men, their voices getting closer. Pip knew he had to disappear, to vanish like a shadow in the wind. Days turned into nights. I was so tired, my little body aching, my spirit weary. The constant fear of capture gnawed at me. I longed for the familiar sounds of the farmyard, for the comfort of my fellow creatures, but I knew there was no going back. One afternoon, the whirring of helicopter blades sliced through the air. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. I looked up to see the monstrous machine hovering above me, its shadow swallowing me whole. This was no ordinary hunt. The farmer, blinded by rage and driven by the need to set an example, had called in reinforcements. I was now public enemy number one, a threat to be neutralized at all costs. The big, scary helicopter swooped low, its powerful searchlight scanning the ground for any sign of movement. Little Pip sprinted across the open field, desperate to find cover. He could feel the wind from the helicopter blades whipping at his tiny feathers, hear the shouts of the men inside. He spotted a dense thicket at the edge of the field and dove into its depths. The helicopter hovered for a moment, its searchlights probing the foliage, before finally moving on. Pip lay there, panting, his little body trembling with exhaustion and fear. He had escaped this time, but for how long? The world was closing in on him. Everywhere he turned there were dangers, traps, and enemies lying in wait. As darkness fell, I stumbled upon a small stream. I drank deeply, the cool water soothing my parched throat. For the first time since my escape, I felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps I could outrun them, outsmart them. Maybe freedom wasn't just a dream after all. I followed the stream, hoping it would lead me away from danger. The moon emerged from behind the clouds, casting an ethereal glow on the water. I paused for a moment, mesmerized by the beauty of the night. I allowed myself a moment of peace, a moment to savor the sweetness of my hard-won freedom. I was alive, I was free, and for now, that was all that mattered. The stream led me to a lush meadow bathed in the soft light of the rising sun. In the center stood a solitary apple tree, its branches laden with ripe red fruit. Exhausted and famished, I couldn't resist the allure of the juicy apples. I flew to the highest branch, savoring the sweet taste of freedom with each bite. But as I looked around, I noticed something strange. The meadow was surrounded by a high wire fence, and standing at the gate, a smug smile on his face, was the farmer. It was a trap, a cruel trick designed to exploit my weakness. The farmer had known that the allure of the apples would be too strong for a starving turkey to resist. I had been outwitted, lured into a false sense of security. The farmer moved swiftly, closing the gate behind him. Pip tried to fly away, but it was too late. He was trapped. The farmer approached him, his eyes cold and calculating. There was no anger in them now, only triumph. Pip was thrown into a small, cramped cage, his wings clipped, his spirit broken. The sounds of the farmyard, once a source of comfort, now mocked him with their normalcy. He was back where he started, but this time, there would be no escape. The other animals watched in silence as Pip was carried away. They had learned a harsh lesson that day. Freedom, it seemed, was a dangerous dream, a luxury not meant for everyone. And Pip, the little turkey who dared to reach for the sky, was condemned to a life of silence behind bars.